Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of BW Marketing World. We have Mr. James Wright today with us, the Global CEO of Havas Red and CEO of Havas Group, Australia and New Zealand, a seasoned leader and for the first time in India after the investment of PR Pundit. Hello Mr. Wright, how have you been?
I've been excellent and it's brilliant to be back in India.
Lovely. So Mr. Wright, one thing I'm actually keen to know about is that you have been in Havas for the longest time. If all your experience altogether, how has the journey been so far?
Well, I joined Havas 14 years ago. Before that I was in a different PR organisation. So I've been in PR my entire, professional career. But it's been phenomenal, and I think it's a great organisation to work in. I've been given the opportunity to really be the master of my own destiny in terms of how I've developed my career. So I initially joined to run the PR agencies across Asia-Pacific, based in Sydney, and I did that for 7.5 years before taking on the global role when I moved to New York in 2018, and I was in New York for 4.5 years and got to architect, if you like, what is the global PR network now at Havas, both in terms of Havas Red as the global CEO and as global chairman of the Havas PR network. And 2 years ago I moved back to Sydney, so I'm running a global PR operation from Sydney, Australia now, which is, I have to say, a wonderful place to live. I love Delhi, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic, and I'm hoping to spend a bit more time here in the future, but also I love Sydney.
Absolutely. So, you have, while we were speaking earlier also, you have been in various markets. How would you take all the journey together and translate it best for a market like India? So
for me, the last decade, I think of all markets around the world, the one that has popped the most is India. I think the acceleration and velocity it's come to the fore with in terms of its creativity, in terms of its commercial development in our industry, I think is India. And I know it doesn't always feel that way because there's a cost of living, the pressure of cost of living and the economy, etc. But 10, 15 years ago, India wasn't really necessarily thought of as much of a PR player. It certainly didn't win too many awards at global award shows. Now it's competing and it's even winning Grand Prix. Obviously, it was an Indian campaign that won the Grand Prix at Cannes this year for the PR category. So, it's really punching above its weight. And I think, here I've spent the last couple of days talking to teams and seeing the work that we're doing. It is as good as anywhere else where the work we're doing anywhere else in the world. And, they're also doing it within that kind of what I've kind of described as the merged media kind of model, which is to take a story, one story, many shapes, and so you take a story from a client and you bring it to life in different shapes in different channels. So we have the social influencer content capability, we have the earned media capability, we have the event management capability, and we have paid capability. So no matter where you want your brand to show up, we have the capability here to do it.
Lovely. Pretty much, you're there on my next question, that India is, industry experts are saying that India it's the next big thing for India. It's a growth market. What specific is Havas bringing in? What strategy do you have particularly for India? Are we expecting any more investments in the coming future? What is the vision for India?
The Havas Group has invested hugely in the last few years in India and made many acquisitions in different marketing types of agency. And obviously the PR agency, PR Pundit Havas Red was a big moment as well for us. We didn't have an owned PR operation in this market, yet we had a lot of other Havas assets here. And so it was a blind spot for us. And so we really wanted to recognise the power that India had at that time and the potential power it's going to continue to have going forward. It's now the largest country on earth in terms of population, but also the economic, it's sort of moved into a grown up economically. It might not always feel that way, but certainly it's growing up in that regard. And with that, I think we're also seeing the sophistication in marketing communications develop at a rate of knots as well. And I think with all of that coming together, we need to be here, because if we're not in India, we can't really say we're in Asia-Pacific, because it's such a major market. It's one of the three major markets that power most holding companies in Asia, which is really China, India and Australia. And of course, there's others that contribute, but those are the three big kind of markets really from a financial perspective. And so for us, that was hugely important, and we want to grow here, and we think there's so much more potential to grow, particularly as more and more brands show an interest in India. They show an interest, they want to come here, they want to be able to be successful, so it's not just obviously the household global brands, but also there's some fantastic innovative domestic brands, startups that are really actually also making their name in India, but also then now wanting to come to us and say, hey, can you take us to other markets? So actually exporting Indian brands is also, what we're here now to do as a global PR network.
What is the revenue growth that you're expecting from this strategy for Havas Group itself?
We've had consistent growth and consistent profitability within the Havas PR network now for many years, and I think that's because we're a challenger holding company. We're not kind of this huge monolith, holding company, and I think that's enabled us to shape the nature of our group really smartly. But we want to see growth, but not at any cost. It has to be sustainable growth. And so in the current economic climate, depending on which market you're in, and every market has had some version of this sluggish nature of the economy right now. Some people are coming out faster than others. Some are still in it. Some are seeing some green shoots, and I think we're seeing green shoots here. And I think next year the goal will be growth. Whether we can hit double digits, that might be a push, but I think it will certainly be high single digits, and I think that's what Archana and her team at PR Pundit Havas Red are looking to, and that's I think that's probably a reasonable and very sustainable number to get to this over the next year or two.
So with Havas Red particularly investing into PR Pundit to expand in India, I think November 2023 is when this officially happened. What is your clientele looks like? How are you onboarding clients, and what has been the trajectory so far?
It's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. I mean, you look at the world-class clients we have in this agency, it's phenomenal. And so, and these are clients that are household brands, they're household brands here in India, they're household brands all around the world, and they're trusting us with their, with their brand, with their PR spend, with their social and influencer spend. And that's, that's a privilege. And that's also, and we recognize that. So the opportunity, though, potential is, to really expand. And so, the team here that I guess traditionally was always known as a consumer lifestyle social agency within PR Pundit Havas Red is now also expanded hugely into corporate, into health. And so we're seeing huge growth potential in those areas where they can actually also draw on experience and knowledge from other parts of the Havas Red global PR network who are very strong in corporate, very strong in health. And take those learnings and credentials and experience to the corporate team here now, to the health team that have been set up in recent years and are doing hugely well. So the growth potential is there. We want to double down on the areas we know that clients will continue to spend and where we see the potential upside coming really strongly.
So while we are talking about this variety that we see in India, diversification, if I have to be particular about it. Now, how was the consumer market? I mean, you have traveled the world almost everywhere. So with your experience, and specifically when I talked about PR, with your experience, with your, figuring out different markets, how is India different from the other markets? And particularly if I say that you're looking at a larger mandate for Australia and New Zealand, how is it different in India?
Well, it's a very nuanced market, India, right? Because, you have over 20 official languages, right? Very different culturally in different parts of the country, in the different states and the different provinces. And, that's true in certain markets. I mean, I lived in the US and there's 52 states and it's all like a series of micro markets really, but they at least talk the same language. They may not understand each other, but they talk the same language. And so the nuances there, I think, make this really richly diverse from a cultural perspective, from an arts perspective. Look at all the independent cinema that exists in the different languages, etc. I think that's just a phenomenal kind of communication challenge actually, because if you want to attack India nationally with a campaign, you've got to really, really smart about how you do it. You can't just take a cookie cutter approach to India. You've really got to nuance your message and how you go about it. So to my point about earlier about one story, many shapes, not just in the channels, but also in how you tell it, in the language you tell it, in the style you tell it, in the cultural relevance you tell it. So to me, it brings all of this kind of like nuance that really should, as a PR professional, bring your technological and strategic capability to the fore, because you've got to draw in all of that experience to make it work with every community, right? And that to me just makes this place just wonderful, and it's so colourful, and everybody seems so positive when I talk to them about things, even if it's, the market's tough. Everybody seems to bring a genuine positivity to every conversation, and I love that, because I think you've got to start positively, otherwise, it brings everybody else down. And I've loved every interaction I've had so far.
Lovely. So, going back to the previous question, one thing that I missed out on, we were talking about clients, right? How has it been so far in the last almost 2 years? Any big clients that you were particularly keen and you got on board, and now you're working like full-fledgedly with them?
Well, I think they developed the automotive space here wonderfully. The luxury and lifestyle space has entered. I think we work for the majority of the fashion brands that you can buy on the high street here. Like, we are representing them, and so really, I mean, rather than call out any individual clients, because I'm not sure whether I can, but the industries there have really kind of like been areas that we've focused on and really specialised in, and expanded our services, right? So for some clients, we were just doing their lifestyle PR, but now we're doing their influencer, their social, their corporate communications, and so they can come to us for all of their comms needs, and we can provide that to them. And I think that's where we've seen the potential and the growth. But we are attracting different types of clients. What's really amazed me here as well is it's just such a diverse set of industries and clients that the PR Pundit Havas Red team have now gotten as a stable of clients within the agency.
Any number you could share with us?
I think they have over 200 clients.
200
Yeah,
clients?
yeah.
So it's been going pretty well then. So far so good.
Yes, very well, very well. I mean, look, there's always problems, and I think we should always be open to that. And there's always things you can learn. But in general, things have moved forward. I have a great relationship with Archana. I mentioned before we sat down for an interview that we met up in Tokyo a few months ago with our families, because we both happened to be on holiday there at the same time. And that's the kind of relationship I've got with a lot of my CEOs and MDs around the world. They're my friends, And what I'm really proud of is, since I kind of launched Havas Red in 2019, all of the leaders that I've put in place over what is now 23 markets are the same leaders that were in place back when we started, except one. And that's amazing, because I recognise there are other agencies and other groups that are coming and trying to steal your CEOs and MDs away, because they're great and they do a great job and they've been growing the business and leading the business. But the fact that they've wanted to stay and be loyal to Havas and be loyal to me, I think is something I'm super proud of. And I do put a lot of effort in with all of the teams. I have monthly calls with each market CEO or MD, and talk about their challenges, and I'm also here for them when they've got problems. How can I help them navigate the group? How can I help them with clients? How can I help them with the people?
How do you see like a long-term vision for the investment in PR Pundit? Like you told me already that it's been over 200 plus clients are onboarded. The luxury sector, fashion sector is something which is growing within this industry right now. What is your long-term vision of this acquisition or this vision?
Well, like I say, I mean, early on, growth is important to us, but sustainable growth. So, and we've been talking today as a team about, where are the sectors that we think we are going to see considerable growth in, and where we know that clients will continue to spend, which is in, the luxury space, it's in tech and all things tech, almost every company wants to become a tech company now. Health tech, music tech, whatever it is. And then obviously kind of healthcare itself is an area where we know that there's going to be continued and considerable investment. So, whether it's in terms of our geographical footprint or whether we're actually just going to double down on the Bangalore, Mumbai and Delhi operations, we'll see that. But there's potential to look at, other parts of the country, I think, for sure. But at the minute, though, it's really about industry sectors and offerings. We put a huge amount of money in developing the social content and influencer offering here. The influencer offering now has been branded as the Ecoverse, which I think is really cool, and that's going super well for them. And you see the work that they're doing; it's phenomenal.
So, if I may ask, like just in the next 1 year, where do you see this in terms of clients or revenue? I mean, you've already told me a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But where do you see, what is your vision? Actually, let's leave 1 year. How do you see it for the next 5 years? Where do you see India as a market, India as a space in your entire Havas Red?
Yeah, so I can see India being a top 5 market, in the next 5 years. How we get there, I think, will change. I think, I always say to people, we have a plan, but that plan will change. Particularly now in our industry where, you used to be able to put 3-5 year plans together. Now it's like, it's hard to see past 6 months, 12 months. So you've got to try and put a plan together and then be willing to flex it as it moves. But I think the potential here, with the continued development of the economy and the amount of spend that consumers have today is going to continue to become more and more powerful. I think if we get it right as well, getting in with younger generations who are looking for brands to enable them to do greater and more positive things and progressive things within communities and within society, and I think that's an interesting place for us. So I think I want to win more awards with the creative work that comes out here and celebrate that around the group, and they've done super well in the last 12 months in particular in that regard. But so it's not just the commercial side, it's also the creative side. I think showcasing the brilliant strategy and creative craft that comes out of India, I think is showcased brilliantly through the guys at PR Pundit.
Now, when in a previous interview you talked about transformative mindset, transformative creativity. How does it relate when we talk about the measurable outcomes, business outcomes?
Yeah. So I think we've got to stop thinking about transactional communication and think about transformational communication, because transactional communication you can incrementally improve, but transformational means like you're trying to leap forward. And when you leap forward, I think that's where the bigger opportunity is commercially for brands and for the value of their brand. And that's I think what I'm seeing, and so for me that transformation is super important. Of course, we've always got to justify the money that we're being entrusted with from our clients and the work that we do. And I think the industry still has a job to do on that. But I think now with AI, with social, with all of the data points that we have a much better armory, I think, to be able to draw on, to be able to showcase the value that we bring.
Now, you talked about data. Now, in a time where, creativity needs convergence, meets convergence rather, how do you work upon it where we are in a times where only data is in abundance? How are you coming up with it? How is creativity not being diluted because of the data? How are you using it? How are you leveraging it rather?
Data's great. But it's only as good as how you interpret it, and that requires human thinking. And so the data points are there for somebody to draw an insight from. So that's where the strategic part needs to be overlaid. So data's never going to overtake that human thinking. Obviously, we're seeing with AI, it can draw us much closer to an insight, but then we still need, I believe, to put some human ingenuity behind that, what we're seeing, to be able to interpret it in the right way, because that's where I think we'll come up with the most powerful strategies. Is the data and different technologies and AI and different tools can help give you the right kind of intelligence to make a better and more informed decision, but you've still got to make that decision. You've still got to interpret it in the right way, and I think that's why I always say to people, AI will make us better, but we always need to be better than AI.
On AI, we have seen waves of AI coming. For India, I think last 2 years has been a massive wave.
Yeah.
We have seen just AI coming in, then we saw generative AI coming in, then now we are witnessing agentic AI coming in, which is ideally the new buzzword in India that we are trying to understand. How are you leveraging these tools? Like, we have also seen the dark side of it. And when we talk about also PR particularly, the word credibility holds a lot of weightage when we talk about PR. It's earned media rather.
Yeah.
But with the aspect with AI coming in, how are you leveraging the tools instead of, if AI can do a lot of work, how are you leveraging these tools for the right way of communication?
I mean, like I said before, we've always got to be better than AI. But using the tools in the right way so that it is giving you better intelligence. And so, look, the platforms we're using today may not be the platforms we end up using in 3 to 6 months. At Havas, we're investing 400 million euros over the next 4 years into AI and technology. Now, that will get us a long way down the road in terms of the whole group, and that will benefit everybody, because ultimately it's about being able to draw greater insights, right? So greater insights, and obviously there's automation of processes, etc. What I think will happen is, or we're seeing happen, is that it's enabling us to do more administrative tasks faster. It's enabling us to draw intelligence and behavioural understanding faster. And what that means, though, is it's giving us more time to spend it on the creative and the strategic thinking, which is more beneficial to everyone, because that's really what clients buy. We don't sell a commodity. We sell strategy and ideas. And ultimately, if you can spend more time on the strategy and ideas than producing reports for, clients, or evaluation reports or whatever, because it can be done and be generated more automatively, and I still think you need then to apply some human thinking around what does this mean, but a lot of that time can be done with that, and also basic stuff like media searches, of where did my brand show up, where did my competitor stuff show up. If you can start to automate a lot of that, it means you can spend more time doing stuff that's really, really important to clients, which is you putting your strategic and creative mindset on a business challenge that they have.
Pretty well explained, actually. Okay, now, going back to a place where you mentioned that your luxury sector is doing very well, your consumer sector is doing very well. How do you bifurcate the accounts between these two, as if they are the priority for India right now?
Well, I mean, look, they're important to us, as I say, other sectors are. I mean, luxury, it's one of those parts of one of those sort of sectors of the industry where it's often recession-proof, particularly at the high end of it. And so, we have a huge amount of experience in that all over the world, actually, in all different parts of the Havas Red PR network, where we're working with a lot of luxury brands, and we've got a great name in that space. And the consumer brands, there's a lot to be learnt from luxury brands. There's also a lot that luxury brands can learn from consumers. But the concept of luxury has also shifted in the last few years, and particularly as we came out of the pandemic, because actually to young people, a luxury today is maybe sitting and having a latte with their friends at a coffee shop, because for a long time they couldn't do that. So the concept of luxury can mean different things, and I think that that's also where you're seeing this concept of transactional versus transformational. It's actually the transformational notion of what does luxury mean. It's also like what I talk about earned, right? Because the concept of earned is stretched now. Because it's not about us working in earned media. Yes, it is, but actually it's about earning a space in culture. It's about earning a space in a conversation. It's about earning you parting with dollars to buy my brand or my service. It's about earning your trust, right? So the concept is stretching, and so you think about all of this rather than in a very sort of linear way, but more kind of being more open to how it can be interpreted. And I think that's where, again, it's awesome to work in comms, because we get to actually start to define how those terms are now going to be kind of redefined, if you like.
Wonderful. I was actually, my last question, you pretty much answered that as well, asking that, you mentioned that, culture is a great fit. Culture fit is very much required for Havas Group as a whole. I wanted you to elaborate on that, but you already did. So I think I'm pretty much through with my questions, and thank you so much for your time, James.
No, that's fine.